Have you ever really stopped to think about the sheer scale of our impact on the planet? I mean, it goes so much deeper than just climate change. Today, we're going to dig into a crisis that's about the very stuff our world is made of and the stories we tell ourselves about.
So let's start with a number. 1.1 teratons. That's a 1 with another 1 and then 12 zeros after it. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. It's mind-bogglingly huge. What on earth could possibly weigh that much?
Well, the answer is us, or to be more precise, everything we've built. A huge study back in 2020, published in the journal Nature, found that the total weight of all our concrete, our plastic, our metal, all the man-made stuff, has officially passed the weight of all living things on Earth. And that's not even counting our garbage. This isn't just a fun fact. It's a sign that we've entered a whole new geological age.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at this world we've built. Then we'll ask, well, who's really responsible for it? After that, we'll uncover the hidden dark side of our digital lives, step onto what's called the narrative battlefield, and finally, see how we might start telling some new, better stories.
So, scientists actually have a name for this new era we're living in. They call it the Anthropocene, the age of humans. And it's not defined by just one thing. It's this whole tangled mess of crises: climate, ecology, society, even democracy, all hitting us at once.
And there's a word for that tangled mess too: a polycrisis. And this is a really key idea to get. See, the climate crisis doesn't exist in a bubble. It's completely wrapped up with economic inequality, with ecosystems collapsing, with political chaos. And the scary part is, each problem feeds the others, making them all worse, creating this giant, unpredictable feedback loop.
But hold on. If this is the age of humans, we've got to ask a tough question. Who exactly is the human we're talking about here? Is every single one of us equally responsible for this mess?
This brings us to a pretty direct challenge to that Anthropocene idea. Some thinkers argue we should actually call it the Capitalistocene, the age of capital. Now, this isn't just playing with words. It completely reframes the problem. It suggests that the root cause isn't humanity as a whole, but a very specific economic system that's been driving all of this.
And wow, the data really makes this point crystal clear. Research from Oxfam shows that the richest 10% of people on Earth are responsible for more than half, 52%, of all carbon emissions. Now, compare that to the poorest 50% of the world's population. We're talking nearly 4 billion people. They're responsible for less than 10%. That is a massive gap, and it really challenges the idea that we're all in this together in the same way.
And this lopsidedness doesn't stop with consumption. It actually extends to the very tools we often think are going to be our salvation. Technology. We see it as the solution, but we really need to face its hidden physical costs.
Think about it. Our digital world feels so clean, so weightless, right? It's the world of connection, of innovation. We talk about the cloud, we stream movies, we surf the web. All these words make it sound so light and harmless. But what's the actual real-world price for all of this digital magic? Because behind every single click, every Google search, every Netflix binge, there's a massive physical infrastructure that is chugging energy and spewing pollution.
The numbers here are just jaw-dropping. Our internet has a carbon footprint that's right up there with the entire airline industry. Bitcoin mining, just by itself, uses more electricity every year than the entire country of Argentina. And get this, each year we produce over 50 million tons of electronic waste, and a lot of it gets shipped off to developing countries in what some activists call toxic colonialism. The digital world is heavy.
So, all this physical reality, the concrete, the waste, the servers, brings us to something that feels more abstract, but honestly, it might be the most crucial piece of the puzzle. It's the battle for what this all means, because how we understand the problem determines if we can even begin to solve it.
Thinkers who study this stuff argue that communication is never just about spitting out facts. It's the space where we build our shared reality. The stories, the words, the images the media uses, They don't just report on the world. In a very real way, they create it for us.
And this has led to something that's being called a green infodemic. We are just drowning in information. Some of it's good, some of it's garbage, some of it's just distracting. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, right? It doesn't make things clearer, it just leaves you feeling overwhelmed and, frankly, paralyzed.
And you can see the tactics being used on this battlefield pretty clearly. First, there's false balance, where news shows put a climate scientist next to a fringe skeptic as if they're two equal sides of a debate. Then you've got algorithmic greenwashing, where a company's slick sustainability ad gets pushed to the top of your feed while critical reports get buried. And this one is huge. The constant focus on your personal actions, your light bulbs, your tote bags, which cleverly distracts from the fact that just 100 companies are behind 71% of industrial emissions. Even our very real anxiety about the planet gets used to sell us stuff instead of getting us organized for real change.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty bleak. I know. But if the stories we're being told are broken, how do we start to write new ones? How do we find our way through this communication chaos? Well, thankfully, there's a proposed way forward.
And this isn't about just finding a catchier slogan. It's about a whole new compass for how we talk about this stuff. It means, 1, always connecting the dots back to the deep roots of the crisis. 2, using a smart mix of all kinds of media, digital, local, everything, to reach people where they are. 3, and this is so important, it means creating a real conversation between Western science and the indigenous and local wisdom that we've ignored for far too long. And finally, 4, it means shifting the story away from making you feel guilty and towards showing how we can act together powerfully.
So the ultimate goal here is pretty profound. It's about changing our whole relationship with information itself. It's moving from a place where we just passively soak it all in to a place where we become active co-authors, helping to write the story of our shared future. And that leaves us with one last massive question to carry with us. In a world literally built from our stuff and shaped by our stories, the power to write the next chapter is everything. So, who should get to hold the pen?